It's the Chop Shop. You know what it is. On today's episode in the Chop Shop, we're going to be talking about somebody that's near and dear to my heart. The late, great Tupac Shakur. It's a tough subject. There's a lot of players involved. We have Kefee D Davis. We have Orlando Anderson, who we all thought was the killer. And we have Terrence Bubble Up Brown. And we have DeAndre Big Dre Smith. But there's one individual that's not talked a lot about. And his name is Trayvon Lane. Which it's kind of hard to really bring him into it. But he is initially what it all boils down to. Because this individual got into a fight with Orlando Anderson in the Lakewood Mall, which set off a bunch of domino effect that has a lot to do with what Tupac did in the casino. And that domino set off this such a big effect that the demise of Death Row. So let's go back to Trayvon Lane. Trayvon Lane is a blood associate of the mob Pyru, and he was working for Death Row Records, Suge Knight. He was in the Lakewood Mall at Foot Locker getting some shoes, and Orlando Anderson noticed him there, seen the death row chain on his neck, and beat him up in the mall with a few other Southside Crips. They took the chain, which is seen in a documentary of when they raided Orlando's house. And in that video, it shows Trayvon's chain that they recovered from the house. And on the wall, in there, it shows Orlando Anderson's high school diploma. Bunch of guns were recovered. So let's go back to Trayvon Lane getting jumped. When he's getting jumped in the Lakewood Mall, he felt a certain way, so he had to go back to his buddies, Suge Knight and Death Row, told them the story. Suge gave him another chain. Now let's speed it up to Las Vegas. They're in the MGM during the Mike Tyson fight. And Trayvon's with Buntree, Neckbone, a bunch of mob Pyru. And Trayvon goes up to Tupac and whispers in his ear, "That's the guy who stole my chain." So Tupac runs over them, jumps on Trayvon. It's just a whole story. Trayvon should have been the one to actually do the punching to get his get back, but he didn't. So all the guys are mad at Trayvon. Tupac runs over there, punches Orlando Anderson. Orlando falls on the floor. He gets stomped out. His shoulder gets dislocated. He had been having a problem with his shoulder for a while. He's getting punched and kicked, and even Suge Knight threw in a couple kicks. Later on, in the months to come, Suge gets put on parole, or actually he gets sent to prison for his part in the beating of Orlando Anderson. And just sets off a domino effect. This is just one thing when keeping it real goes bad. So Orlando's getting stomped on the ground. Everybody's doing their kicks. The guys and the entourage head out of the MGM, ushered by security. Trayvon which should have never been there for some of the coward acts that he committed. And that's really the demise of Tupac. So Tupac goes back up to his hotel, changes his clothes. Kadada should have kept him there, knowing that he just got into a big fight. Some of the things we do that punish us in the long run. Because as soon as Tupac goes down, his security was told to not carry a gun by members of Death Row. That was one red flag. The second red flag is fighting with a known Compton Crip. Baby Lane was nothing to mess around with. And that right there, they had a bounty on the Death Row chain, $10,000 from Puff Daddy. That's another individual that we'll be talking about later on in the show. So Kefee D got a hold of a man by the name of Von Zip, which is a major drug lord in New York, which is connected to Bad Boy Records. That's one of Puffy's bodyguards. So Von Zip had a vehicle that had a stash spot with a 9mm Glock and a 40 Glock. He only gave the 40 Glock to Kefee D, which Kefee D initially told the story of being inside the Cadillac with Terrence Brown, which was the driver. That car, that Cadillac, was rented by Terrence's aunt. Terrence being the driver. Behind him, which was another individual named DeAndre Big Dre Smith, which is rest in peace, like Terrence Brown, and like Orlando Anderson. All three rest in peace. So we have the driver Terrence, behind him DeAndre. The next back seat, right side, we have Baby Lane, Orlando Anderson, the supposed shooter, which is not true. And we have the guy sitting shotgun, which is Kefee D, the leader of the Compton Crips, another drug lord. So they're driving around, they're trying to get their get back, and Kefee D was given the gun, the 40 Glock, which is the gun that killed Tupac. So they're driving around and they're looking for Tupac, which some girl's screaming out the window of her car, Tupac, and that gets the attention of Orlando Anderson, Kefee D, DeAndre, and Terrence. They bust a U-turn, see the big caravan. They come to a light. They pull up on the right side of them, which is Suge Knight and Tupac's BMW, Suge being the driver, and unload 8 shots into the vehicle, which one grazes Suge in the head. He's bleeding all over the place. Tupac tries to go into the back seat, which Suge pulls him down, maybe for a shield, maybe so he doesn't get hit. Tupac was trying to reach into the back seat to grab a gun that they have in a stash spot. He was never able to grab it. He gets shot in the finger, in the chest, the groin area, the leg, and the arm. Suge goes driving in the wrong direction, knowing where the hospital is, but that's another one. Why did Suge Knight drive in the wrong direction when all this went down? That's one of those that just make you go, huh. Maybe he got hit in the head and he was confused. I don't know. Seems kind of fishy. You would think, living in Las Vegas, that you would, in your mind, know where things are going. But I guess if you get it hit in the back of the head by a .40 caliber projectile, you would probably lose, I don't know, maybe anxiety or something. A lot of us go through that stuff. It's another topic. But let's get back to the story. So after that, the shooting, they try to drive away real quick, which is Terrence Bubble Up. He drives off, Mr. Brown, and which is now followed by Trayvon Lane, and they're shooting at the car, the Cadillac, and some ladies that are actually in the entourage with Tupac and them, following them to Club 662. The girls kind of get in the way, and Trayvon's crew cannot shoot at the Cadillac because they would end up shooting the girls. And somehow Terrence's driving skills came into play, and he was able to get them out of there safely, which they pulled just a few streets away, parked the car, put the gun on the tire of the car in the wheel well, and hop into their little area and watch Suge and Tupac being put into a ambulance. And one of the officers in there talks about how he asked Tupac, "So who shot you?" Thinking he was going to record, as in his mind, the last thoughts from a man that's about to pass away from his wounds. And the only thing he could get out of Tupac is, "Fuck you." Last words. He said it took Tupac a couple of seconds to get it together to give him that magical words. There's a whole lot of stuff in this story that just kind of doesn't make sense. Mr. Chop Shop is a big fan of Tupac. Sad. Just to think, if he was still in jail and didn't get bailed out, would all of this, would have it happened? Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe Tupac would still be alive. But one thing we do know is an individual by the name of Puff Daddy had a lot to do with it. Now, Kefee D just got arrested a few days ago, and now he is going to be going to court, and possibly for the rest of his life, which we thought he was going to die recently from cancer, but it went into remission. So, Puff Daddy, you may be going to court very soon. Now, there's a lot of players in this story. Von Zip is dead. Orlando Anderson is dead. Von Zip died from cancer. The one that took the $1 million from Puffy, the bounty on Suge Knight and Tupac's head. So now that we know all the players in this story, let's break it down. It was well known on the streets that Puffy was just tired of Suge Knight's antics. He's forever bullying at the music awards when he said, if you're tired of your producer being all in the videos, come to death row. And that right there is huge, because Puff Daddy was dancing all up in the videos. Puffy got tired of this, opened his wallet, pulled out $1 million, and was like, you know what? I'm going to get rid of these two guys. So he got some players together. They talked about it. He offered $1 million to Kefee D. Kefee D said, we can get it taken care of easily. And after Pac had died in Compton, they had a weeks long of shootings. So many people died. We lost a lot of people in Los Angeles, California. A lot of gang members fighting and killings. Pretty sad. So now that we all have like an open ear to all this situation that's being spread all over the TV, all over social media, we just got to talk about this. Puffy paid Von Zip $1 million to give that money to Kefee D for the killing after Tupac was shot and killed, which we didn't actually know he was killed, but he was shot. He survived 7 days in the hospital, and then he died. It was well known that Puffy asked, so what happened? Was that you guys? And the response from Kefee D was, of course it was us. And he said, let's just settle down for a while, let this calm down, and I'll be getting back to you. So Kefee D asked him again at the Soul Train Awards, right before Biggie Smalls died. That's another one. It's another topic. He asked if he needed protection, and Puffy said, no, I already have enough protection, and there's a lot of police around here, not going to need your help. So Kefee D being heartbroken over not getting his $1 million. We all didn't know Von Zip already escaped with that money, went out and did his own thing, opened a nightclub. Kefee just wouldn't let go and involved the police once they caught him for the PCP, and were going to take him and his whole ring of family members that were involved in the PCP. They gave him the proffer agreement that they wouldn't prosecute him in Los Angeles over the PCP. And he gave them the story of who was in the vehicle. And his story is, he passed the gun that Von Zip gave him to Orlando Anderson. And since Orlando Anderson didn't have a clear shot reaching over his 400-pound DeAndre Big D Smith, Big D grabbed the gun and shot into Tupac's, well, Suge Knight's BMW, but Tupac was the passenger of it, shot into it, and Tupac ended up dying because of that. He should have never been at the MGM stomping out Orlando Anderson. Should have never done that. He's the act. He's the bag. He's famous, and you don't put somebody famous in the line of fire. That's why Suge had the Mob Piru with him. Those guys were all ready to do it, fresh out on parole. They're ready to go and beat ass. That's not what happened. Trayvon Lane went and told Tupac, and Tupac ran over there and punched him. Damn you, Trayvon. We lost a whole movement, an individual, a son of the Black Panthers. We lost Tupac all over this. Should have been telling your homeboys, let's go get this get back. And got your get back. But instead, you were a coward. And you let Pac do that, which Pac now knows shouldn't have done that, Pac. But you being that kind of down for your homeboys, terrible. So, Orlando Anderson passed the gun to Big D. Big D shot Tupac. And a lot of people died in Compton the weeks to come. Remember, if it doesn't say the chop shop, it's not the real thing. Think about it. We'll be talking in the weeks to come about Puff Daddy. Will he or will he not be prosecuted for his part on having the assassination of Tupac? We'll see. Will Suge Knight be ordered in court to tell the story? Because Suge Knight says Orlando Anderson is not the shooter. Stay tuned.